Before Nigeria spoke the word independence with fire in its throat, before women filled the streets with protest songs, before colonial rule was openly defied, in the ancient city of Abeokuta, beneath red dust and stubborn sun, a girl was born who would one day make a king tremble. Her name was Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, and she did not come into this world to bow. She was born in 1900, at a time when girls were taught how to kneel, how to lower their eyes, how to prepare for marriage. Leadership was not a word placed in their mouths. But Funmilayo was different. From childhood, her eyes carried questions. She watched how men were praised for authority, while women labored without recognition. She saw how decisions were made in rooms she could not enter. And she noticed something else. Knowledge moved power. When she was given the rare opportunity to attend school, she did not treat it as a novelty. She treated it as oxygen. Books became her doorway. Words became her weapons. Education did not soften her. It sharpened her. Each lesson she absorbed peeled back layers of inherited obedience. She began to understand that many of the rules surrounding her were not sacred. They were constructed. And constructed things can be dismantled. By the time she returned from studying abroad, she was no longer a girl with dreams. She was a woman armed with vision. She returned to a country alive with colonial tensions, simmering unrest, and people who had been silenced too long. She began slowly. She spoke with market women. She listened to their concerns. She learned their struggles intimately. These women, often underestimated by men and colonial authorities, were the backbone of the community. Their labor, their economic contribution was undeniable. Yet their voices were absent from decisions that affected their survival. So she began organizing, quietly at first, small meetings under shade trees, conversations after the market closed, words exchanged softly but with growing conviction. She taught women to read official documents, to understand taxation, to ask questions that were rarely answered. Then the numbers began to grow. Where there had once been dozens, now there were hundreds, then thousands. The Abeokuta Women's Union became a force, not through violence, but through unity and knowledge. They did not shout for attention. They demanded justice with precision. They carried letters, petitions, and most importantly, awareness. Funmilayo's strategy was meticulous. She knew that emotion alone could be fleeting, but organized action could not be ignored. Women were given roles, networks formed across neighborhoods. Songs were composed not only to rally, but to coordinate. Every market day, every meeting, every chant was deliberate. The Alake of Abeokuta, Oba Ademola II, had never encountered resistance like this. He was powerful, backed by colonial authority, and accustomed to obedience. Yet here were thousands of women, armed with nothing but knowledge, strategy, and solidarity, challenging his authority. They did not come to kneel, they came to confront. The protest began with petitions and requests for dialogue. When these were ignored, they escalated. The women marched to the palace, their numbers swelling daily. They sang songs of satire and demand, songs that could not be silenced. They surrounded the palace gates, returned day after day, their presence unyielding, their discipline remarkable. Colonial officials watched in disbelief. Women organizing thousands, unimaginable, but it was happening. And at the forefront was Funmilayo, not as a figurehead, but as the orchestrator of a movement that refused to be broken. Her demands were simple, yet revolutionary. Abolish unfair taxation on women. Allow representation. Ensure accountability. She did not ask politely. She demanded decisively. And the unthinkable happened. The Alake abdicated. In colonial Nigeria, a king stepped down because women refused to kneel. Victory did not sedate her, it emboldened her. Funmilayo's activism grew beyond Abeokuta. She became a national figure, deeply involved in Nigeria's independence movement. She challenged policies, fought for women's suffrage, advocated for labor rights, and demanded education reform. She traveled internationally, speaking in rooms where African women had never been expected to stand. She did not speak for attention, she spoke for justice. Her home became both sanctuary and headquarters. Her children grew up in an environment where questioning authority was not just encouraged, it was expected. Courage, strategy, and resistance were daily lessons. Her sons, her students, her country, they inherited more than memory. They inherited a template for defiance, a blueprint for change. Even as the sun set over Abeokuta, long after her body had returned to the earth, her story lingered like the quiet echo of a drumbeat in the distance. Because she had shown that one life guided by conviction and strategy could bend the arc of history. She had shown that justice, when pursued with patience and fire, was never impossible. And she had shown that power is not only held by those who wear crowns, but by those who refused to kneel. Today, when women raise their voices, when communities gather to demand what is right, when the young refuse to accept what is convenient, they are walking the path she carved. Funmilayo's legacy is not in monuments, it is in movement. It is in courage. It is in the quiet, unending refusal to accept silence. And as the city breathes, as the markets hum, as the sun spills across the red earth of Abeokuta, her story whispers, rise, question, stand, because when you do, you honor her.